New Thought Media Network proudly presents the Global Heart of Peace's Peace Party. Celebrate the many paths to peace. Explore an exciting life of peace. Embody joyous peace. Come to our weekly Peace Party, Mondays at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. Only on New Thought Media Network. www.ntmedia.org.
Welcome to the Peace Party, brought to you by the Global Heart of Peace Initiative. Hi, I'm Kathy McGuire, and I'm a member of the Huntington Beach Center for Spiritual Living. And I'm so happy to be here today because peace is what we need so much right now. I actually have a project that will help bring peace to the world. It's called One Daily Minute. Take a minute and imagine a better world. That's all. That's all I want people to do. And I believe that when enough people do that, the world will change. And when we imagine peace, we will have more peace. And my website is www.onedailyminute.org. Today, we are here to celebrate the many aspects of peace and explore how exciting a life full of peace and joy can be. And today, I will be talking about how peace is dynamic. And I'd like to start with a story that's a good example of dynamic peace. It's the story of St. Francis of Assisi, the wolf, and the town of Gubbio, Italy. There was a wolf that was raiding the town of Gubbio, killing chickens, sheep, and even people. And the townspeople tried various ways to stop it, but nothing worked. So they called in St. Francis. St. Francis listened to the town people describe the problem. The wolf is killing and eating our livestock, and it is even killing people. We've tried killing it, but it is too fierce. Our lives are in danger. Then St. Francis went out into the forest and found the wolf. And he asked the wolf why he had been attacking the village. And the wolf told St. Francis, "I have a litter of baby wolves and they need food. I try hunting in the forest, but when that doesn't work, I get food from the village. I'm not going to let my babies starve." St. Francis thought about both sides of the conflict, and he thought of a solution. He went back to the village and he got the townspeople to agree to the solution. Then he went to the wolf and told him what he proposed. The townspeople would leave food for the wolf in a certain place every day, and in return, the wolf would agree not to attack the town or to take any other food from the town. The wolf did agree, but since he had killed people, St. Francis made him go into the town and publicly apologize to the people and promise not to kill again. And that's how peace was brought to Gubbio. So St. Francis became the peacemaker in the conflict by listening to both sides and by finding a solution to the cause of the conflict. He found a workable solution. You know, conflict is traditionally defined as a struggle, a battle, a war. Two sides want opposing things, and they inflict damage on each other, trying to get what they want. But St. Francis saw conflict in a different way. He saw it as information and as a sign of a misrelationship. Something was behind the wolf's behavior of attacking the town. So first he got information so that he could discover the cause of the conflict. He did his research by listening to both sides. Then he was able to envision a solution. It might not have been what each side wanted, but it took away the cause of the conflict. He also helped the two sides to see each other in a new light. The townspeople now saw the wolf as a fellow creature, having the right to live in the area. And the wolf was made to apologize for killing the people, and he saw that they had as much right to life as he had. And this prevented the conflict from reoccurring because their consciousness had changed. You don't try to hurt someone when you understand that they have a right to live. In fact, you might want to give more freely when you acknowledge this right. So how can we apply the story of St. Francis to our world today? First, we can commit ourselves to being peacemakers in our own lives and in service to others. And how do we do that? We take the point of balance or harmony in the center. We learn to be that dynamic balancing point in the center that sees both sides and holds them in right relationship. This means not taking sides in a conflict, because that is being part of the conflict. I know it's not easy, but that's the point we have to take. We acknowledge that each side has a valid point, but we know that they are stuck in a lower frequency than the solution. We take the middle position to bring about that harmony, which is a higher frequency than the conflicting consciousness. And this means we look through the lens of kinship. They are stuck in right and wrong, but we see both sides through the lens of kinship. And this means relating as members of the same family. And this is the word I'm using in place of brotherhood, because I feel it's more inclusive. So our kin, our family members, are temporarily trapped in separation. And we know that spiritual unity is our true relationship. So we seek solutions based on goodwill and kinship with all. This doesn't mean that we have to like everyone, because that's impossible. But we open our minds and heart to seeing difficult people in their spiritual aspect, which they cannot do. We affirm for them what they are not able to do for themselves in this situation. We see them as a spiritual brother or kin. The same is true for our own conflict within ourselves. In fact, it's only by being the peacemaker in ourselves that we have the ability to hold that position for others. When we have internal conflict with two sides of ourselves in opposition, we must recognize the validity of both sides and seek to re-identify ourselves as a spiritual being to lift our level of consciousness. And if we can do that for ourselves, we can do that for others. And so, how might we look at that? How does our higher self see it? Where is the misrelationship? What pattern is manifesting in us or in the situation? And what new pattern would right that misrelationship, just as St. Francis did? How can we act as a spiritual being? And finally, another important concept I can bring to you today is the concept of service. It's the idea that whatever solutions we find, we radiate into the minds and hearts of humanity. We know from science of mind that thoughts are vehicles that carry energy into the outer world. And our service is to add to the strength and direction of humanity's thoughts toward peace. Every thought toward peace is a direction toward peace, is energy toward peace. And that is our service, and that's how we become dynamic peacemakers. Now I'd like to close with a meditation that I hope will bring some of that energy into our talk today and that you can leave with. So I'm going to close my eyes and take a few deep breaths. And now turn our attention to our higher selves, our spiritual being, who we truly are. And by turning our attention, we make that connection. And in that connection, we hear a chord, a note of harmony, a note of balancing, a note of inclusion. Just take a moment or two to listen for that sound, the harmony of our higher self. And now allow that sound to be like a tuning fork that once hit makes all sounds harmonious with that note. And experience yourself as that tuning fork with that note, vibrating with that note. And now think of a conflict in your own life or in the world, and sound that note See that note being sound, hear it being sound within that conflict. Within both sides, each side is sounding that note now and lifting to the frequency of that note. And moving to a point where it might just be able to sense there's more than just the conflict, but there's a higher level of being. And sense a door opening for a solution. We may not know the specifics, but the solution is the higher self for all concerned. And radiate out that solution into that conflict, and then out into the world, into humanity. Knowing we share patterns and our thoughts, our energy is strong. Now take a moment and sense that all is well. Take a deep breath and release it. Relax the attention, and when ready, please open your eyes. Thank you so much for joining us today as we explored a unique aspect of peace and hopefully introduce you to a new way to look at peace. And please join us again next week at 5 p.m. Mountain Time for a new guest and topic. And so I'll leave you by saying, may you dance in the joy of a peace-filled life. Thank you.